All right, today I'm sitting here with my friend Lawrence Spain of Spain Sober Living. He's got 2 houses here in Austin. Everybody knows the name Lawrence Spain. He's a business development guy at Arise Recovery Centers, and he's also the vice president of TAP, the Texas Association of Addiction Professionals. So Spain's got a lot on his plate, and it's great to have you with me today, Lawrence. I'm excited to ask you some questions.
Well, thank you, Clay. I'm glad to be here, man. It's good to be able to sit here and get ready to talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about.
Heck yeah, we got some important topics. So you didn't come to running recovery homes through your own recovery journey, but I understand there is a lot of personal motivation behind what you do.
Right.
Walk me through the decision to turn that into a career for you.
Man, I would say that, I've had a cousin, for quite some time that had been suffering from addiction. And, I was always just, the young brother in the whole family. I have 3 cousins. He was my 3rd cousin, and I was just the baby of the cousin. And so it just kind of got really bad as time went on, and we lost him in May of 2017 to meth. And so, I just remember the impact it had on my family. Impact on me as well, his sister, his brother, and especially his mom, and just the whole family. And at that time, I had a house in Austin, and I decided to make it my mission to turn that into a sober living to help men out. Had a talk with them, and they supported me through that journey.
Nice. So you owned a home, and you just decided, I'm going to turn this into a sober living home in honor of my cousin. Mm-hmm. And tell me a little bit about like that first year and how it worked.
Man, that first year, man, it was nervous. I think by the time July hit, I knew that I was ready all in. Nervous, knowing that I was going to
July of what year was that?
2018.
Okay.
I knew when I was sitting in the house in July, preparing to open in August, I was ready all in. There was no pulling out. And when the doors finally opened in the 18th of August, I got my first client at the beginning of September, and it just became real. I was open to all ages from 18 and above, still am today. 18, 19-year-olds, they do burn it down, but you definitely have to have a mix. As you learn sober living as you go on, you learn there's a mix that you have to have between the ages that you have in your house. So that way the 18, 19-year-olds can learn from somebody that's 30 years old, 35 years old, big brother, you know what I mean? And so the first year was just an experience. It was a lot of learning, a lot of education for me. I was in it to win it. Want to know everybody's journey. It just really, to me, proved what I've always thought in life, that everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that all my life. But to really come across people that has had trauma, addiction, and all the things, abandonment, and all those things, from a young kid to an adult, that plays a huge role.
Yeah.
Going to college in today's world brings on a lot of mental health. Parents may be doctors or lawyers, and next thing they expect their son and daughter to be the same.
Right.
And that brings pressure, and that brings a lot of mental health and stuff like that. And
yeah.
So never having that judgment on people. Being able to be open to people, vulnerable to people, understanding to people.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there for the first year and just learned everything. I got it with a few different owners that are pioneers in Austin today. I highly respect. You had Hensley, you had Harmony Haas, you have Active Recovery. There were some of the ones that were popping up. Heartwood was also sober living as well. And John Brown with South Meadows was another one. And they just kind of, they sprinkled some popcorn my way. You know what I mean? Took me underneath their wing, and a lot of it I had to learn on my own. Mm-hmm. But I was invested all the way. I was determined to learn everything about sober living.
Yeah.
And then probably around about 2020 or so, after being told by many people that you got to go look at other houses because other houses are not like the way yours is.
Yeah.
You know, meaning clean, you know, furniture is updated, not raggedy, not broken down, you know, the smell of a house, you know, all the things that, you know, people look for or should look for when they're touring a sober living.
So when you came in, it sounds like you were pretty blessed to get connected to some pretty good mentors.
Yes.
And how I know you today is I know you as the mentor, essentially. So when you're talking to somebody who's opening their first house tomorrow and they're in their first year, what would you say to them is the right approach and what should they be doing first?
Man, learn the space. If you can, just start networking in the community first. Learn the landscape before going into opening a house. I think what people fail to believe is that they get the house, the furniture house, and the client's going to be at the door when they open the door.
So in Austin, here, what are the networking events that somebody should attend? You're basically saying, go talk to people in the industry before you buy a house or before you open a house, right? So what are those events that people should be going to learn?
Any type of recovery event. You know, we have Austin Tap, which is an event that I started going to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I will always refer people to go to that first. That's where you're going to meet anywhere between 85 to 100 people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And, you know, one thing I realized about Austin Tap before I joined Tap was that they moved this event all around Austin. And there's some times it was in Georgetown that I was like, I'm not driving all the way to Georgetown.
Yeah.
But then what I realized is that every event that they hosted every month brings a different crowd of people. You know what I mean? You're gonna see a lot of the same people at every event, but you're always gonna run into at least a good 10 to 15 new people, depending if it's south, north, east, central, whatever. So now, you know, not only that I'm on Tap now, but I always feel like going to every event and making that connection with people.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Austin Tap here in Austin, and if you're in another geography, I mean, they have the equivalent, you know, entities in most states, I think.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, when it comes to educating a family,
Yes.
that is the family of one of your clients who's living in your homes, about sober living, why is that process so important, and what are the do's and don'ts there?
Man, educating family is huge in sober living, and you know, there's quite a few different options in Austin to choose from. Sometimes it may be somebody's first time in treatment. Sometimes they may have been in sober living a few times and had some bad experiences at other houses. You know, and there's a lot that goes on in the sober living world. That, you know, a lot of houses do a lot of good and ethically good stuff. And then there's some houses out there that, you know, allows people to stay in sober living because they're a paying person after they relapsed already.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think there's a way to, like, communicate with a parent that allows them to trust that your program is going to be high quality? Or is it mostly just kind of the actions over time that need to be put into show?
Well, I think honestly, communication for me, and again, this is just a me thing. I come from the family. Transparency is huge for me at Spain House. I believe in contacting sponsors once a month to make sure that they still exist. Two, I believe in contacting families once a month. You know, kind of give them an update of the month. You know what I mean? I have our managers kind of reach out and kind of give them updates of how their son is doing.
So every month you're talking to the client's family,
Yes.
primary point of contact, and their recovery sponsor.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, and we don't need to go into logistics with their sponsor. We just want to make sure that they're checking in.
Yeah. Make sure they exist.
You know, anybody can tell me, oh yeah, I got a sponsor. I talked to him last night. I do know I work in recovery.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've got a sponsor, and then people ask, does your sponsor know that they're your sponsor?
That's right. You know, and so, you know, I think, you know, over time you start to learn things about your program and things that you can improve. You know, because it wasn't like that at the beginning when Spain first opened.
Yeah.
You know, I think that sober living, it's a continued learning curve every month you come across something.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a way that you can up the bar.
So, okay, so like with talking to the families and talking to the sponsors a little bit, that is like, in my opinion, like providing a very valuable service to the families, almost above and beyond like what people would expect.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery coaching is another service that is often administered in recovery homes, right?
Right.
Some recovery homes do it, some are like, whatever, they're just heads in beds. But in terms of like recovery coaching, do you see that as something that's the responsibility of the owner of the home, or is that something that's better to kind of outsource to a certified professional?
Outside source.
Okay.
You know, because I feel that like recovery coaching it's a unique service first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking those guys and you're waiting for a couple times out of the week, and sometimes even longer than that, by phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you have to have that individual time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be able to find that connection.
And they can be honest with the coach, and they know it's not going to come. It's not you, right?
That's
it's
right.
Not the guy who's controlling where they literally live.
That's right.
So.
Recovery coach can be in control of, if they don't like a certain house that they're in, if they're struggling, the recovery coach can also teach them things that they weren't even into before. Some people don't even know they like working out, but now all of a sudden the coach is teaching them to work out.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Teaching them new skills, you know what I mean? Learning how to be sober and still do the fun events.
And so do you require recovery coaching, and do all of your residents have recovery coaches?
I don't require recovery coaching. I do use that as an option. I use that as an option. Even before I joined the Rise Recovery Centers, I even use the IOP as an option. Mm-hmm. I think when they go through 30, 45, 60 day treatment centers, they let loose to the Wild West. You know what I mean? The freedom is back. Mm-hmm. And that can be overwhelming to anybody coming out of treatment.
Yeah.
But to have a recovery coach, to have an IOP or some type of aftercare set up,
yeah, it
kind of bridges the gap of the freedom. You know what I mean? Because our first 30 days I feel is very brutal.
Yeah.
It's they're vulnerable the first 30 days out of treatment.
Yeah.
They've been used to being told what to do, where they got to be at in treatment. Mm-hmm. Now you're discharged and you're in a sober living, and so you got to go get a job. You got to be out a certain time. Those are things that sober livings are responsible for. Putting out there.
Yeah.
Having a program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to just lay around the house all day long.
Right. Okay, so this is an important one. So you introduced me to Amber, who's an insurance broker who specifically specializes in sober living insurance,
yes,
or behavioral health insurance. Yep. What do operators often get wrong about their insurance coverage, and what's the importance of having that specialization?
Well, I brought Amber out to, she came out to Austin several years ago to speak at my owners meeting that I have here in Austin. And it was really to go over the insurance thing. Mm-hmm. We may be educated in sober living, how to run a sober living, but we're not educated in all the things when it comes to the insurance process. And there's some things that, with Narcan, overdose, suicide, all those things, you gotta be protected 100%. Mm-hmm. And some people want to cookie cut what they want, what they don't want, mm-hmm, because of costs. Mm-hmm. And some people are not aware of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when you're talking to the other person on the phone, the insurance person, they may not explain it to you thoroughly. Yeah. With Amber, she explains it to you thoroughly.
Oh yeah.
And she goes over it and over it to make sure that you understand it.
Well, I mean, she told me two very concrete pieces of advice that were awesome. She was like, number one, you probably shouldn't do singles, because the risk that somebody is going to overdose in that single room compared to a double is way higher.
Yes.
And then the other thing that she told me she was like, you need to be very specific about who are you letting in and who are you not letting into your house. For example, are you taking sex offenders? Are you taking men only? You know, things like that. So anyway, so in terms of like, you got the Spain house, you got a great reputation, you're an active networker. What does your lead funnel look like? What percent is like digital marketing, Facebook? What percent is Google? And what percent is direct referrals from treatment centers? And how do you see that mix?
Man, I mean, that's a good question. If you ask Austin or other neighboring cities, I think they will tell you I'm always out. I'm always out.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
There's probably no place that I'm not at.
Yeah.
So really I would have to say probably 80% is really kind of comes from me being out, the boots on the ground. People that know me but that they're not in the position to refer to me, but they knew somebody that wants the sober living and they put my name out there. 20% social media for me. You know, that's something that, you know, need to improve on, you know what I mean? But, you know, sometimes it's good and sometimes, you know, it's me being out there with the guys. You know, I do a lot of events with the guys, and so those are a lot of the stuff that I post.
It seems like there's a lot going on social media with, you know, sober living right now. A lot of new content coming out. What's going on?
Man, I have this conversation with owners, quite a few different owners on a weekly basis. And from realtors to people making up sober living courses, sober living riches. It's a new social media thing that's going around right now, thinking that sober living is a cash cow. And that's far from the truth. You know, they look at it as, oh, you make X number of dollars, but what they don't understand is that you have to consider the relapses that we have, you have to consider all the house maintenance that we have to have, and all the events that we may do for the house that comes from somewhere, you know? And it's been a more common thing in the last, give or take 2 years now. You have realtors that have houses that have been sitting for so long they're not being rented, so now they hear about sober living, so now they want to open up a sober living now because it's guaranteed. Yeah. You know, or you have people that, you know, again, like I said, they want to make a video about how to open up a sober living. But what happens is that what worked for you may not work for that next person. And I say that to all the people. Yeah. You know what I mean? There is no blueprint to know how to open up a sober living.
There's no blueprint. There's no one size fits all playbook.
Correct.
It's you gotta have the heart for it.
Yep.
You gotta get in there. Drink from the fire hose. Figure it out. Right.
And for me, that takes 6 months to a year. I always don't really advise newer owners that have come to me after they open up their house the first 4 or 5 months saying, oh man, we're full, we're about to open up another one. It's like, I wouldn't do that if I was you. Yeah. Because there's such thing called slow season.
Okay, what's the slow season?
Meaning when people are not seeking to go into treatment.
Which is that like in the summer or?
Yeah, when it's hot, people ain't trying to do that.
Yeah.
You know, when it gets cold, then everybody want to go to treatment. Yeah. You know, and if you're really gonna put yourself as far as a sober living, that
that's funny. I went to treatment in July.
Yeah, you know.
But I was done.
You were done, and sometimes it takes being done. Yeah. Right. There's no timetable on going to treatment. You just have to be done. You know, you have to be done with what you're doing and know that you're done with that life. Right. You know what I mean? Like I want to go ahead and get right now. Right. You know, everybody can say all the right things. Yes. You know, but is the action going to prove what you're saying? Is the words going to match up?
So that brings up another question. Like when you're interviewing somebody as a potential applicant to come into your home, do you like try to kind of judge like, okay, is this person really willing and ready to participate in recovery? Like, because sometimes you can't tell, right? Like sometimes somebody can talk the talk, but like they're kind of full of shit. Do you try to like like judge that yourself, or do you just kind of think to yourself, I can't really know, I'm gonna let them in and I'm not gonna be the judge?
I interview the clients myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a follow up with my manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thing is that I go into it, and if they are on the phone like, yeah, sure, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
If there's no fire,
No excitement, right?
it's like,
They gotta be trying.
right.
Yeah, okay.
You know, they got to be like, I'm ready for this. I own my faults. You know, this is where I know I messed up at. This is my first time going to sober living. Apologize if I'm not enthused about it. You know, those type of things.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always like, okay, you know, I have a list of different questions that I ask. You know, I definitely ask, you know, how close a relationship with you and your family is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, addiction destroys families.
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to repair that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, are you willing to repair that? You know what I mean? And what things are you going to be willing to do to repair those things?
Yeah.
You know, what are you willing to commit to? You know, what are you willing to surrender to?
So it's kind of like a vibe check of their willingness.
Yeah.
Basically.
You know, and then I have my manager do a follow-up call with them. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I do a call out to the families myself to say, hey, your son's looking at this house, you know what I mean? This is what he has told me, you know, and sometimes you find out a whole different story that was not told to you.
Yeah, different story there.
You know, you realize how long they've really been dealing with this.
Right.
You really realize that families like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do this 1 month, but that's it. You know? So I think it's really important to bridge that gap and talk to families, because even though that they're done, that doesn't mean they sit don't care.
So when a family's talking to you, what are they asking you, or what are they not asking you that they should be asking you?
Basically, when they're asking me, they're basically just asking me, they're looking at it as, well, we're on to another sober living. What's going to be different about this house?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
They should be asking that. Or
They should.
They should, okay.
You know what I mean? And they normally try to do it in a roundabout way. You know what I mean? I think at that point in time, they're just tired. You know what I mean? They're tired. You know what I mean? They've been doing it for so long, right? And they just keep on helping, right? But there comes a point where they shouldn't be helping no more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking care of the first month's one thing.
Yeah.
Taking care of 3 or 4 months, I mean, you gotta have a little skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, but having that conversation with families, some families understand it. Some families are like, that's my son, that's my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, same thing for a vehicle. Well, his car's at home, well, it can stay at home.
Yeah.
For the next 30 days. Why is that? Well, we don't know how things are gonna look when he gets out.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes you have to earn the things that things that were taken away because of your addiction. And that's just kind of how I see things. And again, that's just a me thing. Now, if your car's sitting there at treatment with you, obviously your car's coming to the house.
Yeah.
You know?
So, last question here. The Texas Recovery Oriented Housing Network, TROHN, and Oxford House are the only entities that allow you to get state funding, I believe, in Texas, or referrals from state agencies.
Correct.
How do you see like certification in Texas and standards, and what are your hopes for the future?
Well, I mean, I've known TROHN for quite some time. They had a conference out in Houston several years ago when that went into effect. I want to say right around 2021, 2022, so right now.
Yeah.
And then in my owners meeting that I have here in Austin, I've also invited one of the representatives up here to my meeting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, we saw Nick last month.
Right. And so, you know, it was one of those things. It's a mixed feelings about that in Austin. I think more owners be supported if there was more oversight on what that looked like. Not just paying the amount of money that they want for the certification, but what's the return on their investment?
Yeah.
You know, if it's pay this X number of dollars and we'll see you in 2 years, then where is the expectations happening now if you're still doing business the correct way.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I'm torn in between both. You know, should there be more oversight over sober living? There should be. But I think for us as owners too, we want to be able to run our own program in our house and not be told how to do it either.
Right.
So it's going to be that checks and balances of how that may look.
Yeah.
Future wise, I mean, if it keeps going the way it's going with people opening up houses and stuff like that, you have Airbnbs in today's time that have to be licensed. You know what I mean? And you know, sober living will still keep rolling over here.
Yeah.
You know, unlicensed. You know, where anything's allowed. You know what I mean? Now, Austin has roughly about 500 houses in Austin. Now, when you look at that many houses in Austin, I mean, there may be.
You think there's 500 sober livings in
Oh,
Austin?
yeah, for sure.
Dang.
And that's why when you're looking into sober living, it's very important to, you know, Google shows one thing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But talking to the person and hopefully being able to see the house,
Yeah.
learn about the program,
Yeah.
learn what they're offering, having those check-ins with the families of this is what's going on. You know what I mean? Because sometimes families are not able to come to our houses. You know, they're out of state.
Yeah.
You know, you have to provide them some type of support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for the family to understand that, hey, you know, your child's here, he's safe, he's doing X, Y, Z. You know, but yeah, there's out of 500 houses, you're probably looking about 3%.
Are certified?
No, are good.
Oh, or what percent are certified?
Certified, man, I couldn't even tell you how many are certified. Maybe probably 5 to 7, maybe. Now Oxford, I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. So kind of.
But as far as houses that run with a house manager, you're probably looking about 5 to 7. You know what I mean? And I would say sometimes under 10 houses.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see what the future holds for sober living. You know, I know time is getting short here, but I can never voice as much to families to check in the sober livings.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the owner.
Yeah.
Do your own investigation. You know what I mean? Because I'll be the first one I feel that will talk to the family, ask what the family is looking for, and be able to provide them with 2-3 different options.
Yeah.
I think I've been able to build a good reputation to a lot of different owners that I know in this community, and not only add to that a sober living owners meeting that I started, but when treatment centers from out of Austin is coming into Austin, it's never a second thought in my mind to say, come on in, I set you up with 4 or 5 different houses to go look at.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done that over the time. You know, like I tell everybody, you know, as owners, is that, hey man, like, you know, I'm not in here to be your competition. I'm in here just to help. You know, my story is a little bit different from y'all's. Y'all went through recovery, I did. I lost a cousin to it. So I know how it affected us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I try to be understanding to the family, you know, so, but yeah, I mean, that's my story. You know, that's what I'm sticking with. I'm always here for a voice for anybody,
Yeah.
you know, owners, clients, industry or people in recovery. Just a sound voice, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lawrence. It's great to have you.
Thank you.